The world of business has changed forever. Part 3, 21st Century Business Development Tutorial. In Part 1, I covered the twin wave impact of the new industrial revolution on business and society. In Part 2, I covered the 5 excesses: excess information, excess competition, excess choices, excess insecurity, excess stress, and I defined the essential 21st century business development problem as being: how do you do business with an overloaded client, especially when you're likely to be overloaded too? And I gave 5 keys to dealing with the 21st century challenges. In this part of the talk, I wish to move on from the analytic perspective of the prior 2 sections onto something far more practical. My objectives are twofold. Firstly, to help you improve your business development, and secondly, to show you how to apply 3 Tao of BizDev 21st century tools: the Tao of BizDev Map, the Tao of BizDev Circle, the Tao of BizDev 5 keys. So how do we improve your business development? I never cease to be more surprised than I should be when people ask me what business development is. I always reply, developing your business. An answer so seemingly clear and self-obvious, it seems rather odd to give it. 9 times out of 10 people reply, which part of my business? Product, sales, marketing, our website? This reveals how deeply programmed many of us are in a reductionist mindset. There is nothing wrong with pixel thinking, but it must be situated in a clear and simple understanding of the big picture and the connections within that big picture. So let's address this point first. Without you examining your assumptions about business development, you too could be left looking at the pixels but missing something in the big picture. Whilst Dan Pink asserts that right brains will rule the future, they certainly don't now. We live in a very left-brained world, a very reductionist world, one in which, as McGilchrist has argued, the servant has taken control of the master, and we live in a society dominated by the consequences. One of the consequences is big company thinking. If you control vast empires, if you control vast numbers of people, then of course you have to divide tasks. But much is lost, and the great benefit of smaller companies is the ability to see both the big picture and the pixels. It can be easier said than done, but it's still possible. In this siloed world, the most systematic business development problem that many people have is bottom-up thinking. Tips and tricks on how to sell, or how to close, or how to write blog posts. These bottom-up tips can be helpful, but only if we've got the big picture sorted first. Only if we have a replicable methodology for a reliable golf swing. So let's talk about your business and getting you a reliable golf swing. Let's make this a practical tutorial. So get a pencil and paper, and I guess maybe second time around, hit the pause button a few times. If you work through these ideas, you will end up with a greatly improved business and plenty of new ideas for avenues to explore. So let's apply the Tao of BizDev tools to your business and your business development. Naturally, before we discuss developing your business, we need to discuss what your business is. If you have a business model and we were meeting together, we could go over that and you could explain to me in your language how it all works. However, as this is a talk, let's use the Tao of BizDev Map. This maps out my favourite 10 key questions, which I found most useful in reorientating businesses away from what one might call 20th century, tradition, or just plain old-fashioned business development. The Tao of BizDev Map. Question 1. Who are you? What's your credibility? What's your brand? What's your reputation? Question 2. What? What's your product? What's your service? Question 3. Who are your clients? What's the market? Question 4. What problem do they have? What pain do they have? Question 5. How do you get results? What are the results? How do you solve it? Question 6. Why should they pay the money that they pay for it? Question 7. How do you connect with new potential clients? Question 8. Why are you in business? What's your purpose? What are your values? What are your beliefs? As Simon Sinek says in Start With Why, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Question 9. What's the emotional payoff for your client? Bernadette Jiwa says, people don't buy what you sell, they buy how it makes them feel. Well, that seems enough for now. If we had more time, there are plenty more questions to ask about your reach, your network, your tribe, and much more. However, in general, I find I rarely get even through 9 questions without coming across some key opportunities for improvement. Those of you who aren't overloaded right now and are paying close attention may recall that I said there are 10 questions. And the 10th question is, in essence, when you do all of what you've just told me and it goes wrong, why didn't the client buy? Do they buy from a competitor? Actually, if they do, it's not as bad as it sounds, because if you're a lean and nimble organisation, that gives you a chance to improve, and you're being told in which areas. The more challenging business development problem is when the client does nothing at all, You failed to move them. The easiest get out of that is that you're after the wrong client. For example, you have an innovative, disruptive technology, but are speaking to a conservative, last-mover business. Then you just tip your hat and count yourself lucky. In the worst case of no action, you just don't have a compelling product or service, and you need to spend more time refining it. Actually, I say no action is the worst outcome, but perhaps not. An outcome that's been around as long as commerce is the never-ending sales process. Anyway, to recap our discussion about your business, we finished with this 10th question about what happens when it's game over with a potential client. Now we have a grasp of your business in a framework which will help us implement a 21st century approach. Let's move on to your business development process. Before getting into the pixels, what's the big picture about business development? Very simply, and it helps to always remember this, business development is the art of communication. It's worth repeating as it really should be your North Star. Business development is the art of communication. Now on to the pixels. The classic approach to business development is to look at a value chain, but this is very 20th century. It harks back to the days when business was a one-way flow. Within our company, I made the washing machines. You guys in marketing hyped them up and put some catchy ads out there. Then, and we both of us agreed on this one, the sales guys dropped the ball as they should have closed far more sales than they did. This linearity is wrong for the 21st century, but before dismissing it completely, let's recall the comment that all models are wrong, but some are useful. Sometimes I talk about the business development cascade to get over the vital point that anything not right at the start of the process will flow downstream. This model is very product push, a dangerous thing to be unless you have the tenacity of a James Dyson. Genuine innovation is very hard to sell. Clients require far more convincing as they perceive far more risk in stepping out of the accepted comfort zones. Let's make the process model more realistic, more up to date. Really, we need to be talking about a value circle. We can still accommodate product push, but importantly, we can see that we need to have more of an eye on demand pull. Most products are not created in a vacuum. Most are created by existing businesses with existing customers, or at least responding to perceived market gaps or pressures. A new product should never be a guess. Rather, a new product should ideally be a validated concept that has arisen out of a two-way dialogue between you and the marketplace. In passing, if you really don't like sales and marketing and have a transactional or platform business, you can do in essence what tech giants do and not waste money on all those sales and marketing guys. It's an interesting and unique feature that some of the largest companies in the world have got to where they are with next to no selling at all. Certainly no door-to-door salesman from Google or Amazon ever knocked on my door to get me to buy. However, most businesses, certainly those that involve larger invoices and the free model of zero, need to have a marketing and sales function. Let's briefly go over the roles of each part of the process. You make something. Marketing arouses interest in it, including recognition that we need action and ideally some desire. Sales converts the interest into a signed deal, and following delivery, the client hopefully pays for it. The dark side of the business development circle, let's think, for example, of 20th century tobacco, or perhaps in the 21st century junk food, is you make addictive junk. You lie, hype, spin, and use psychological trickery. You trick or pressure clients into buying, and the client is worse off for it. Not nice, eh? And as much as one never meets anyone who fesses up to the above model, just as we only ever meet politicians who tell the truth, it's an important backdrop. Sales and marketing in particular have a bad reputation as a result. It's one reason you have to work far harder at them than you did before. So let's assume you're on the right side of the force. Let's now look at applying the 5 Tao of BizDev keys to the value circle. Let's look at applying the Zen Tao principle to the value circle. Keep it simple, stupid is the most important thing in a world of overload. KISS, or lean to be a bit more formal, needs to apply to the whole value chain. We should note in passing, however, that Zen design is not easy to do. Simple may look simple, but as any designer knows, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Easier said than done. Clutter can hide a lot of errors. Going back to the business development cascade, a lack of compelling product, if you like, bug at this stage will not be fixable later. Sometimes even modern notions of lean startup or just ship it can seduce folks into not putting enough time into making their product truly great. The best way to win is to not compete, to hit the ball out of the park, to be so compelling there is no decision. In sport, there is the notion of train hard, fight easy. As an example, here is a photo I took the other day of my notes when I was refining my analysis of the 2 waves, 5 excesses and 5 keys. Most of those sheets of paper are A3, some are A2, and out of those vast notes, I basically got 12 nouns. Rather like digging deep foundations, the more work you do on getting your stuff sorted right from the get-go, the more solid your whole business development will be. Due to having spent most of my career working in big-ticket, relationship-based, B2B business, the element I most need reminding of myself is Zen marketing. The need to deliver a simple message. The need to market a message, not market stuff. Indeed, for some time I resisted the Twitterization of society. However, reality beats us all into submission, and it's now axiomatic for me that in a permission-based marketing world, out of courtesy to other people if nothing else, a short and clear message is key. It gives them a chance to decide whether they dig where you're at and would like to go further, or whether they wouldn't. Equally, it's a much better use of your time rather than, and I see this frequently, throwing every piece of mud you have at a wall in the hope that some will stick. As Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. With the right message, or story, you will essentially have set out your claim and found if, in principle, the clients are up for it. Everything else then becomes validation, due diligence not selling. This is a very powerful approach. I've seen it deliver an order of magnitude improvement to business development processes. Note that for the purposes of this slide, we're talking about a product or service. However, at a higher level, marketing is about brand building, and there we can use much longer material in the way of content, marketing, and so forth. What is the shortest possible MVSP, minimum viable sales pack? I've found that less than one handful of well-chosen images or charts is far more powerful than long presentations. Why? As Zen Dao, we are trying to convey essence using simplicity, clarity, and brevity. Furthermore, as all good salesmen have always known, sales is more about asking good questions, getting the client to talk about their world than it is talking about yourself. At the end of such a process, your client should be happy and appreciative as you will have delivered what you promised and used their time efficiently. The second Tao of BizDev 21st century key is dating. One aspect of dating is search. If you have a compelling proposition and are trying to do the right kind of business rather than just selling to everyone, and that always leads to seller's regret, then all you're doing is setting out on a search. If you have something genuinely useful, then your only BizDev issue is finding the people who need it and helping them to buy. I doubt when you're dating you go from coffee straight to a marriage proposal. In the same way, your product offering should be based on incremental commitment, as much as possible using a pilot or trial or some other way to ensure you lay out a staircase, not a high jump. The essence of dating applied to marketing is that we wish to avoid the dark side. We need to do matching marketing, not manipulation marketing. As a result of excess PR, spin, hype and lies, we have all learned to see rapidly through insincerity. Note, however, the seduction element of dating. We always need to recall the asymmetry of the situation. We're trying to get deals after all. Without marketing, we need to entice, arouse interest, create a vacuum, hook, slogan, dream, desire. With sales, the notion of finding a long-term partner rather than using pick-up artist techniques just to get a transaction is invaluable. We need to set up a buying process, one that shows the client how, if they so choose, they can buy. We shouldn't think in terms of sales processes. Dating means we need to attune to the potential client. We need to listen to them, and we need to educate them as to where we're coming from. We're not trying to push anyone into anything. Looking at dating as applied to the client, how would you feel if someone had approached you with a dating-based business development process rather than a process of selling? As I mentioned in part 2, sales resistance is pervasive. The way to overcome sales resistance is not to sell. If what you have is good for them, then for sure clients will buy from you. Everyone loves buying, but hates being sold to. Speedy is about internal, about being lean, about building flexibility into an organization. How fast can your business change direction? Adaptable is about externalities. You need your ear to the ground to keep on the edge of the ever-changing world, to beat the competition. I've put purpose as the heart inside all aspects of your business. This is the real opportunity of the 21st century, to make businesses that give pride, meaning, and purpose. Belief, values, honesty, integrity, authenticity. It's about being human. Magic is the best ingredient and the real secret sauce. We all recognize magic when we see it. Great products, great art, great conversation. For some reason, most folks forget this when it comes to business development and instead revert to wearing their silo hats and doing their job. But the greats at anything always sprinkle at least some fairy dust over the proceedings. At a minimum, some magic will keep your audience awake, make you more memorable, and most of all, pleased to be alive. In this talk, I've covered the use of 3 Tao of BizDev tools: the map, the circle, and the 5 keys. Flip yourself around from thinking how you might use these approaches to instead thinking about how you would feel if someone had marketed and sold to you using these principles of Zen simplicity, clarity, brevity, of dating, of being speedy and adaptable, of being driven by purpose, and of being magical. It would be really pleasant, wouldn't it? You would feel respected and treated well. You'd tell your friends. So you would enjoy the experience even if their product or service wasn't the one you needed right now. So I will leave you with this thought. Make your business development process something you would love everyone to adopt when they approach you.